Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to another StarCraft video. Now what I got for you today is a professional match of Terran versus Zerg. Spawning here in the bottom left hand corner of the map and playing with the blue Zerg drones. He's from the Ukraine. He definitely does not shy away from playing hyper aggressive in pretty much every single matchup. We are currently looking inside of the main base of Bly. And his opponent spawning in the opposite corner of the map and playing with the red Terran SCVs. He's from Poland. He also definitely does like playing aggressive throughout the mid game. We have none other than Sol. Now, by the way, just because I get this question pretty much every single video that I upload, the LE in the map name, so in this case, Cerulean Fall LE, stands for Leather Edition. Once upon a time, we had a TE edition of the maps as well that was basically standing for the Tournament Edition. This time around, though, it's going to be the LE edition, and nowadays we use the LE editions during tournaments or whatnot as well, so it's a little bit confusing. I guess it's mostly just like a remnant of the past, and it's used to indicate that it's the final version of a map. So Cerulean Fall LE, it does not stand for Last Edit or something like that. I've seen people speculate that it's Leather Edition. Anyways, here we go. Spawning pool first from our Zerg player. This is one of the things that Bly loves to do. Obviously, in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, we see him oftentimes take his opponent's natural. I remember casting a game of him recently on Parasite LE where he decided to go for the hatchery in his opponent's natural instead. This is the kind of thing that Bly loves to do. Obviously, going hatchery on the other side versus Terran is a little bit complicated, but it does give him that control of the early game. There's a couple things that these Zerglings can achieve. Ideally, they will kill the SCV that's building the command center as well as the command center itself. But obviously, in most scenarios at this level of play, that kind of stuff won't be happening. But what it can do is slow down the production right there of the command center and keep this Reaper at home. Sol is going to send the Reaper straight across. It does look like that. He's also following it up with a reactor, so no safety marine. That does indicate, though, yeah, he knows his opponent is capable of doing this kind of stuff. That means that he is going to be using that Reaper defensively. And obviously, this allows Bly to do whatever he pleases. Now, shout out right there to Sol as well. We could have chased down these Zerglings a lot more. Bly actually, cleverly enough, decided to split up those Zerglings, hoping that its Terran opponent would chase a couple of those Zerglings with the Reaper. Then obviously the other two links could come in and still slow down the command center. But in this case, right, because the Reaper is forced to stay here, because the Reaper knows there's more Zerglings out there, he's gonna be forced to leave it over at the natural of the Terran. And that means that the third base of Zerg can usually go up uncontested. It's these minor little things that do make a difference at this level of play, and while the Reaper eventually is going to move across, I would imagine that the third base indeed will be acquired before the Reaper can really be a nuisance. So it's all these little things that do really add up. Plus right now, look at that. One cheeky little Zergling made its way towards the high ground and it scouted the timing right there of the starport, giving Bly the full information that he is looking for. Obviously not a game-ending move here whatsoever. By going for the spawning pool first, obviously you do delay the Zerg economy just a little bit, but Bly definitely did get his value out of it in this particular game. Now, ooh, I was gonna say, where is he gonna take this? I love it. Okay, so Sol did decide to go for the fusion core inside of the main base. No third refinery taken just yet, so this could just be for Liberator ranged. But regardless, this is one of the things that we have been seeing a lot more of in the current meta of SC2. You know, you guys know I get excited, right? Whenever Battlecruisers are at play. I hope it's gonna be something along those lines as well in this particular match, because it's just so much fun. Wow, what was that? It's just so much fun to see the Battlecruisers becoming a core unit in the meta of SC2. You can obviously transition from it towards Bio. You can also transition towards it, towards Mech from it, rather. This is one of the more recent developments in the StarCraft 2 meta. A couple of months ago, when the BC first got buffed up quite a bit, we saw mostly a lot of Terran players focus on heavy Battlecruisers and then like sacrifice them, trying to deal as much economic damage as possible, follow it up with Marines and Stimpack and everything along those lines. Nowadays though, in the current meta, we see a lot more Zerg players dealing with a Battlecruiser that transitions towards the Mech army instead, and obviously that all of a sudden allows Terran to not only put the pressure on the Zerg player to, you know, continuously worry about their economy, but it also allows them to use the Battlecruiser later on to really keep that mech army alive. Because if there's one thing that Battlecruisers are really, really good at, it's killing things on the ground. Now, by the way, my previous video was actually a Battlecruiser versus Battlecruiser viewer-submitted game. In case you missed that one, I'll post a link to it down below in the description of this video. But look at that, right? Sol queuing up the Battlecruiser, skipping out the Yamato cannon upgrade for now, and adding on additional factories on the back of this as well as a third command center. So I really like this kind of play because, you know, using these Hellions to force the Zerg player to sit back, it allows him to get some scouting information, and then all of a sudden, he can show up with the BCs. A couple of Zerglings though right now at the front trying to be a nuisance, trying to deny that command center. Command center, though, will not really go down, but here we go. The Battlecruiser has already made its way across the map. Bly did anticipate this, judging by the fact that he already made himself a second one of those spores as well. But you can see that's still 9 drones going down, 8 of them by this one Battlecruiser, and the Battlecruiser is going to be able to fly out and just simply go back to safety, right? It can be repaired, and it can be used once again. It's really nice. It kind of feels similar to, for example, like I would say, oh, this is actually really nicely scouted by Bly. Getting the information of the double armory there really does give him that indication it's going to be, you know, full-on mech and that really passive mech style as well. But anyways, this kind of feels like Protoss going for a double Stargate Phoenix opener versus Zerg is almost always guaranteed to deal damage. I've yet to see a Battlecruiser not get at least like 5 kills. It's really, really strong. Now, obviously, the follow-up here, and this is the tricky part, the follow-up here for Sol is going to be siege tanks. One of them is out right now. Second Battlecruiser was also produced, but is there enough right now to deflect these roaches? It does look like that's the case, and Sol will be able to hold on here. Brilliant play, honestly, by him. And now, all of a sudden, that one Battlecruiser returned back home as well, since they can now shoot and fire at this, or rather, move and fire at the same time. I was going to say shoot and fire, but that kind of, you know, a little redundant. They are going to be able to shoo away these roaches and really pick up a lot more kills. I love this. It's so sick. I think this is legitimately a really good build. Now, what it is vulnerable against in the early game, because I know there's going to be people watching this, they're like, oh my god, Lowko, Battlecruiser Imba. What it is really vulnerable against is Roach Ling pressure in the early game. So if Zerg is playing really aggressive and they go for like that Roach Ravager Ling based all-in that I made a couple of videos about as well, there's no denying that it's very, very easy to shut down a Terran player because you hit before the Battlecruisers are out, and basically at that point there's only really a couple of Hellions available for Terran. But yeah, you take a bit of a risk in the early game if you're Terran, and you can get into this really solid mid-game army that all of a sudden looks extremely powerful. It's a risk-reward kind of thing, right? Anyways, normally we see a lot of Terran players transitioning from this towards Cyclone. Okay, I was gonna say. But in this case, we did see Sol getting himself, ooh, well, one less siege tank, I suppose, but he did get himself a couple of those siege tanks. I really like the idea because one of the follow-ups that Zergs have been playing as well is a heavy focus on Roach Ravager all-ins, which on paper don't really make a lot of sense against Battlecruisers, obviously, but you can deal a lot of damage if there's no siege tanks out and if there's mostly a focus on Hellions, Battlecruisers, and then also Cyclones. I love the fact that Sol is really playing the meta here, getting himself the 4th command center right now, getting himself that quick 3rd CC, but also after the Battlecruisers, prioritizing some of those siege tanks before transitioning towards the Cyclone. Really, really like this. So he's basically really thinking ahead of what his opponent might be going for, and then he's trying to counter the potential strategies here. So this is a relatively safe version of this play. So where is he going to take this? This is kind of like undiscovered territory for me. Anyway, a couple of SCVs do end up going down, and it does look like Bly is going for a big Mutalisk transition. When you think about it, there's not a lot of units here that shoot up. Cyclones can, Battlecruisers can, but they are all pretty bad at it. This does mean that these 15 mutas that are just about to come out can deal a tremendous amount of damage. Now, Bly doesn't want to save it, but look at the amount of damage right here that these Cyclones can deal. They are absolutely going to be able to kill that hatchery, and that does mean that the mutas will now finally show themselves, but it's already a little too late. These Hellions and these Cyclones really are helping out a lot in this regard. Now, sure, you can harass a Battlecruiser, right? But yeah, there's very little reason to do so, because they can always just tactical jump back towards the safety of home. And here we go. They're trying to intercept those mutas once again. trying to get the value here. One of those missile turrets will be constructed, but now with more and more Cyclones coming out, I think that Terran should be okay here for the time being. Still, there's a lot of damage though that's being dealt. Basically, every single Cyclone is about as expensive as, for example, a siege tank. And speaking of siege tanks, they are also dropping like flies right now. Bly has recognized that the longer that this goes on, the less value he will likely get out of these mutas. So while he's playing extremely aggressive with them right now, he's trying to just simply do whatever he can so this Roach follow-up can 100% catch the Terran player off guard. We'll see if that's going to be the case, though. I think that's what he's hoping for, but we'll see if that's the case. The tempo here has 100% been decided so far by Soul, and while there's a little bit of map control right now for Bly, I feel like that map control window is really dwindling right now. 7 overlords coming up though, so I wonder if Bly is going to go for maybe a Swarm Host transition, maybe focus on more Roaches, or maybe he just made a slight error and got supply blocked here. We'll have to see where this one heads. He did, by the way, reacquire the 4th base here. This time around, it's going to be in the horizontal position of the rest of his army and the rest of his bases here as well. But he also is, once again, grabbing that previous 4th to continue mining some more of that gas. Alrighty. I love this. I really am a big fan of this battle mech kind of army, right? So the Cyclone Hellion force, backed up with Battlecruisers, and actually right now we finally see Yamato coming up as well as more BC production. I think this is really, really cool. Such a nice way of playing. Now, once again, one of those siege tanks looks like it will be in trouble. Sensor tower also was picked off, and that's what Bly is doing wonderfully here, of course. It looks like Sol wants to push across the map, but these mutas are sort of keeping him accountable, and, well, even right now we see the Neo Steel armor upgrade coming up, which is one of those upgrades that you didn't really see a lot in the past. Basically, for those of you unfamiliar, in the new patch, a couple of Roaches, by the way, made their way over here, but in the new patch, they basically merged 2 upgrades together that all of a sudden made this upgrade become a little bit more popular. It basically is the building armor as well as the bunker upgrade, if I am not mistaken. Alright, so I was gonna say, what exactly is Bly gonna do to try and counter this Battlecruiser-based army? Well, apparently he wants to do so using this Neural Parasite as well as Hive Tech. Infestors are coming out. They are actually already available. Is there any burrow upgrade just yet? No, not the case here. Also, by the way, we don't really have any proper upgrades here for Zerg whatsoever. That's going to hurt quite a bit here in the long run. No evolution chambers that are really able to upgrade just yet. So, even though Sol is getting aggressive, I think if you would be aware of the fact that there's no Evo chamber upgrades yet, he would likely want to sit back for a little while longer. But look at this, right? This Cyclone-based army can absolutely kill a hatchery in a matter of seconds. Is he going to target it? There we go. Look at it. Look at the amount of damage. It's insane. They have to have 5 lock-on range, but then all of a sudden you can back up a lot as well. Now the mutas apparently made their way across the map. They're trying to see if they can kill a Battlecruiser. Repair is here. It's not going to be able to do very much, and that means that all of those units will end up going down. Fungal Growth, though, was utilized right here on these Battlecruisers. That means that their tactical jump is not available, but it just barely runs out in the nick of time, and that means that Bly will have to deal with that Battlecruiser once again a little while later. One of those Hellions apparently made their way towards a couple of drones as well, and Soul... Ah, man. Playing this Battle Mech army, where apparently one Marine is also hanging in the background, I love it. I'm such a big fan of this. It's so cool. Remember when Terran Mech was that laid-back, super boring, sit back for 25 minutes and max out kind of composition? Well, nowadays, it's no longer that. It can be, and once again, we see Sol transitioning towards more Battlecruisers, now also adding on Liberators and Liberator range, because he already has the Fusion Core. It can be, but this is not what Sol is playing. I'm a big fan of this. I think it's so awesome. What are you going to do if you're Zerg at this point? Well, I think you have to hit a really nice Neural Parasite. If you can take control of a couple of those Battlecruisers, there certainly is some potential here. But Sol has not been sitting still as far as the economy goes either, so even losing a couple of Battlecruisers at this point is not that big of a deal. He can replace basically anything he likes with stronger units once again, and apparently it's gonna be Cyclones and Liberators here for the time being. Liberators, of course, very good at basically everything that Zerg has on the ground. Not so much in air-to-air battles, but really good at killing things on the ground. And now that the mutas are mostly dealt with, yeah, there's 0 of them remaining. I think they are a really, really great transition. Obviously, Hydrodisc also did see that 10% attack speed nerf, right? They still, by the way, do not have any Evo Chamber upgrades. 2-2 is already done here for Terran. The longer that this goes on, the more it's going to be in favor of our Terran player. And right now, Soul, man, he's thinking 4 steps ahead out of everything that he's doing. He's now adding on additional barracks. This could be for ghost play. He could also be transitioning towards bio. He is getting tech labs on one of them, so we'll have to see if he's getting Stimpak and whatnot as well. But I love this so much. Such a cool way of playing. Now all of a sudden the Liberators are here. You can start slow pushing with this army as well. Apparently Bly is gonna try and deal with this. Now obviously those Vipers in the air can certainly give him a lot of potential as well. Here we go. The Battlecruisers are gonna be able to finally use their Yamato cannon as well. And the Infestors have mostly been dealt with as well. Really cool style though. The siege tanks there sitting in the back. Right now that they are once again having a little, like they have a little bit of wiggle room. They can start unsieging, moving forward. Liberators can start harassing the other mineral lines as well. And all of a sudden another hatchery will be picked off with ease. There we go. Man, I was wondering what the follow-up was going to be. So the Ghost Academy is indeed going to be the building of choice here for Soul. So he's getting himself 4 barracks here, all with tech labs. And if there were, for example, Battlecruisers, or rather not Battlecruisers, sorry. If there, for example, were a lot of Vipers to deal with, right? Or for example, Ultralisk, or for example, Brute Lords. You could 100% go ahead and use those ghosts to EMP the spellcasters, but then also to snipe any potential high-tech army units. Battlecruisers, though, decided that they needed to make their way towards the bottom right-hand corner. Their friend, the Liberator, wasn't helping out. Yamato Cannon will be utilized there on the hatch, and that one will also end up going down. Bly, he's been trying to basically take control back in this game, right? He really wanted those Mutalisks to deal the damage that they were meant to, but it never really happened. Right now, we have so many Cyclones available here. We have next tech switch is already coming up here for Terran as well. He's just about to finish 3-3. Terran is gonna go up against 1-1 Zerg at that point. Plus, he's been continuously acquiring more command centers here to take control of his corner of the map. Really lovely play. Now using the high ground here as well on those siege tanks. Such a sick play. If you're a Terran player and you're not inspired by this, I don't know what is, man. This is such a cool way of playing. Completely new, something we never really saw before until a couple of months ago. And while right now Soul is not trading particularly cost efficiently, look at this. Additional Battlecruisers are coming up. The Ghost transition was ready, and more Cyclones were just about to come out as well. Beautiful game there by Soul, playing that Battle Mech army composition, really active out on the map. He seemed to have an answer for everything that Bly wanted to throw at him, and he already was transitioning a step ahead of his opponent. Usually, that's the task of the Zerg. In this game, it was Soul who was ahead the entire match long. I hope you enjoyed watching this game. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.